Just a quick slide here about greenhouse data. We're headquartered in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we just opened a brand new data center up there. We also have cloud nodes in Portland and Piscataway, New Jersey, and we have a new facility that'll be coming online early 2015 in Orangeburg, New York. We provide cloud hosting, colocation, managed data center services. We're a VMware service provider, so most of our cloud work is going to be using VMware tools. That's including the product we're covering today. We are annually audited for HIPAA and SSAE 16 Type 2. We are a wind-powered facility. We buy 100% wind credits, and we're the first certified B Corp in Wyoming. We provide free 24/7 live customer support to all of our customers, very support-centric, and that's something that a lot of our clients come back and tell us makes a big difference. With that, I will hand things off to Josh here, and we'll start covering desktop as a service.
All right, first off, let's talk about what is VDI. VDI, if you don't know, stands for Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. It is basically a technology that allows us to take the user experience off of the local machine and run it out of a data center. Because the workload is removed from the local machine, the terminals that the users are operating can be older, low-power machines, or they can even be a thin client, such as a WISE terminal, or even a mobile device. Virtual desktops can be automatically scaled out as needed. When you need to add or remove a user from your organization, you don't have to set up a new computer workstation account and application set for them every single time. Virtual desktops can also be hosted in the desktop as a service model, which is what we offer. In this scenario, you don't need any local infrastructure in your facility. We would build and manage the environment based on your needs and specifications and handle all the desktops, patching, backups, and monitoring. I also do want to mention that if you are not able to attend the full webinar today and have to leave early, we will have this available online in the future, and we can also send this out to you via email. IT pressure. Healthcare IT departments are always under pressure from all different sides, right? Staff and budget are spread too thin, managing users, managing multiple endpoints. There's licensing considerations, patching, security, and then, of course, the 500-pound gorilla in the room, which is HIPAA compliance. All these are different problems that VDI can help alleviate, and these are all things we'll talk about today. So first, let's talk about HIPAA and some of the requirements that are imposed there. At the heart of HIPAA regulations is obviously the PHI data, the patient health information. This is information about clientele that is stored and accessed on your different infrastructure systems. This data can only be disclosed in very specific situations, and the violation fines can be astronomical in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you obviously want to make sure you have your bases covered. Some of the specific areas here we have on the right that we want to make sure we have covered are the administrative side. We want to make sure that we have a plan and documentation written describing how our infrastructure collects, stores, accesses, and transmits the patient health information. On the physical side, we want to make sure we have good physical access control to both our facility and our servers. Make sure we have good workstation security, as well as the use habits of the users, and device and media controls. On the technical side, we obviously want to make sure all our systems have audit controls so we can track our users and see what they're doing, authentication systems to make sure it's secure, as well as transmission security like encryption in transit, firewall, and antivirus. Now, as Joe mentioned, Greenhouse Data is a HIPAA-compliant facility, and we will sign a Business Associates Agreement, or BAA, for you if needed, and we'll also make sure we help you hit all these different areas in your environment. So why should you use hosted desktops, specifically in comparison to a traditional model? One of the biggest things is increased security for HIPAA providers. As we just mentioned, we are HIPAA compliant. If you set up virtual desktops in our environment correctly, they will be HIPAA compliant. Mobile devices can also be used, nearly any mobile device, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Because data isn't stored locally on the machines, these devices can also be shared between staff members when you're doing things like charting, which is a huge, huge cost savings. Software and updates can also be installed once and seamlessly pushed to all users in your environment. So instead of doing patching on 30 machines or installing a single piece of software on 30 machines, we do it on one, and then those changes are propagated down. And we also integrate backup and antivirus with all of our machines with no additional setup or charge. VMware has been working really hard to collaborate with different EHR vendors and offer wide system compatibility for the Horizon View suite. Horizon View was actually the very first target platform for integration with the Epic EHR system. This is actually the first desktop platform that was ever certified for use with that. If you're just now moving to an EHR platform, this is a great opportunity to modernize and simplify your IT infrastructure as you migrate. Desktop as a service can also help limit the largest causes of health data breaches. As you can see on the chart below, laptops and mobile devices account for well over 50% of all the total information breaches. Again, it's because data is not actually stored on the device that your end user is accessing from. If a laptop or tablet is stolen, that's not considered a breach. All the data is still secure on the server. Now let's discuss how virtual desktop can help IT deliver value to the organization as a whole. The first is the CapEx savings. Since we mentioned earlier, end user devices do not need to be powerful desktops to actually run the applications. They're just used as a vessel to connect into the virtual desktop. These can be replaced with thin clients, which is essentially a very low resource dumb terminal. You can also extend the lifespan of existing hardware in your hardware refresh cycle. And again, you can even use mobile devices or things that you might already have on hand. On the OpEx side, you save a lot on administration. When a new user needs to be set up, you only have to provide them with a login and then associate that login with a security group. Desktops can also be reset at a click of a button if, say, something gets corrupt or you just need to refresh a system for a user. And then again, deploying new software and patches to multiple users simultaneously with just a few clicks of a button. Up here on the right, we show a IDC survey. It's a few years old, but it shows the differences between desktop and VDI, both on the hardware, software side, support side, and productivity cost. Now, again, this is 3 years old. Those costs are even getting better these days. And on the bottom here, we show a little blip about total cost of ownership. 75% reduced energy and cooling since you aren't running nearly as much equipment in your production facility. All right, let's go over some of the specific Horizon features. As we mentioned, VDI encompasses the whole BYOD philosophy, or bring your own device. The device, it doesn't matter what device you're essentially connecting in from, because all you need, once you have the user account and the desktop version on the data center side, the whole user experience will be the same to the end user. Again, also very quick to scale out, scale up and scale down quickly if you need to add or remove desktops and make changes to multiple desktops at once. With Horizon View, you can also integrate it with existing infrastructure, whether physical or virtual. If you have existing desktop images you want to leverage, you can bring those in, use them as a template for other desktops in your environment. You can also run virtual desktops along other hosted physical or virtual servers, whether that's your AD server, Exchange server, or file server. We do have the ability to integrate two-factor authentication with this desktop. We can do that using Radius or RSA Secure ID integrated with Active Directory. So if you're wondering about a user going home and installing, a client on a device that the company doesn't own or manage, and maybe losing that device, leaving it at a Starbucks or something, you can still rest safe knowing that we need that two-factor authentication, which can be integrated with your corporate security practices. Last is user monitoring and insight. One of the things we mentioned from the HIPAA compliance requirements earlier was having audit controls for your environment. You want to know who's accessing your environment, from where, how long. All those audit trails are built into this environment. Let's go over some of the client access methods. Horizon View has desktop clients available for both, or I should say, Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So regardless of what operating system your company has standardized on or what your users are using, there's a full functional desktop client for you. They also have mobile clients now. Android, iOS, and Windows Store allow you to connect from anywhere that you have a data connection. All these devices, whether they're desktop or mobile, can do things like USB and sound redirection. So, in the medical world, when you have things like your blood pressure meters and glucometers, or glucometers, I should say, you don't have to have specific workstations in your environment that can leverage these devices. People can actually plug them into their mobile devices or the laptops, take them wherever they need to go, and be able to redirect that connection into the virtual desktop. View also offers an optional web client, which users can access from any web browser. The web client runs a new proprietary protocol that VMware created called the BLAST protocol, which is a pure HTML5 implementation for PC over IP, which I'll mention in a moment. This doesn't quite have all the features of the desktop client, such as thin print or USB redirection, but it does offer a fantastic user experience. And again, the convenience of being able to access this anywhere you have a web browser. View also has an administration console, which is web-based, which is pictured on the bottom right here, which allows you to easily, conveniently manage your environment from really any browser or any device. As I mentioned on the last slide, I mentioned the PC over IP protocol. This is the default remote protocol that is used in the View client. It's a relatively new desktop protocol that VMware, I believe, created in conjunction with Terry Dici. And instead of transmitting all data from the server to the client, it leverages bitmap compression to constantly take images, compress them, and send them down to the client. What this means overall is much, much less bandwidth usage compared to traditional connection methods, and also a great user experience. PC over IP has the same features as RDP, for instance, clipboard, again, the USB sound redirection, and things like that. But again, much lower bandwidth cost. You see on the bottom here, we have some bandwidth savings listed compared to remote desktop and also Citrix. I also will mention remote desktop is available in the VMware View clients for compatibility. It's just not the default or recommended protocol in most situations. On this page, we have a chart that shows, again, how that bandwidth usage translates for a lot of different workloads. So you can plan your consumption accordingly. If you are a medical tech handling large image sets like a PAC system or a VNA system, you'd probably be up towards the top end because those images, again, especially rapidly changing images in the PC over IP world, take a lot of bandwidth. On the opposite end, if you're maybe just doing email charting, things like that, you're just going to be on the bottom end of this. So this just really allows you to kind of plan your capacity as needed. On the back end of the virtual infrastructure, we have a lot of different ways that we can manage our desktop types and how our users are assigned. This just quickly shows some of the different options we have. Automated pools being the most common. Automated pools leverage that gold master image. So you have one template that you run in your environment that you want to keep patched with all your security policies updated and all your software installed. That is what is used as the source image when we scale out all of our user desktops. Again, when you want to easily push out patches or software, you're just doing it to that gold master image, and all the changes are then pushed down to all your additional users. Also, if you ever have an issue, this image on here shows how if a user maybe the operating system gets corrupt on their desktop, we can go in here and we can recompose it, which is going to reset the desktop back to the gold master image state. or just completely refresh it from scratch. We also have manual pools available, which allow us to use existing servers and desktops. So say you have an additional terminal service, so server, which I have as the example on the bottom, that you do want some of your users to still be able to access, but you want that single pane of glass management to manage your terminal services users and your VDI users in one, you can do this. You also have the ability of using that view client, whether it's desktop or mobile, to access some of these existing servers. So that means users don't have to have two sets of software. They only have to be trained and familiarized with one set, and they also get some of those added performance benefits from the PCoIP protocol on the desktop client, or on the view client. In addition to the different pool types, we can also control how users are assigned to your desktops. With a dedicated assignment, users are given a specific desktop every time they log in. This allows them to install special applications, locally save files to the desktop or wherever it might be. This type of configuration is usually used for power users, again, people that need special applications or any sort of special security restrictions. The floating assignments, on the opposite of that, give users a random desktop every time they log in. They won't be able to install and keep special applications, but the number of desktops can be over-provisioned and shared amongst users. So say you have 30 users that need access to a virtual desktop, and only 10 are going to be logged in at any given time. You only need 10 virtual desktops again, which is a huge cost savings. This type of floating assignment can be used for groups of users with very similar workloads. So if you're a receptionist or accountant or someone who's just making rounds on a hospital floor. And then lastly, we're able to mix and match these user assignments and different pool types to match the type of users and the workloads that you have. Sometimes you have to obviously make your power users happy and give them the ability they need, but you also want to gain the efficiency of oversubscribing your desktops. You can have one dedicated user assignment and one floating user assignment running simultaneously. Users can be entitled to access different pools or even both pools if you wish. So we can really meet whatever types of needs you have and try to make it as cost effective as possible. The last page is really just a summary, some of the topics we talked about today. Obviously, virtual desktop allows you to host fully featured desktops hosted remotely in a data center, which helps you reduce total cost of ownership, capital expenditure, and operating expenditure. Again, using those remote clients, thin clients, or older computers. It's much more efficient than traditional means of remote access or working off a terminal server using that PCoIP and BLAST protocol. It also helps you maintain your HIPAA compliance and your internal operational security practices. And it's also compatible with the major EHR providers out there. That is all we have for you today. If you are interested and like to hear some more on our virtual desktop offerings, you can navigate to the link below. We can sign up for a one-on-one walkthrough or even a demo of our virtual desktop environment. Again, we're going to have a recording of this sent out to the email, and we should also have this available on our website. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great day.